everyone, Dr. Sarah here. So today I'm going to be doing a little video on your cortisol levels and the 9 things that might indicate that maybe your cortisol levels are a little bit higher than what they should be. So for those of you that don't know, cortisol is a hormone that's actually produced by an organ in our body called the adrenal glands on top of the kidneys. Normally it's produced in response to stress. We're meant to have a rise in cortisol, a nice slow rise in cortisol in the morning when we get up. And then during the course of the day, that slowly comes down. And then as we go into the evening, if you remember from my other video, then we have the melatonin, which comes up during the night. Now, if your cortisol remains too elevated, or if it's kind of doing this all day, then you're going to start having symptoms and problems. So what I want to talk about was what are the 9 things that you might be experiencing if maybe your cortisol level is kind of shooting up too high in the morning, staying too high during the day, and potentially even staying high at night. Okay, so one of the first things that you want to look for is basically if you're not sleeping well. Okay, so if you're having a bad night's sleep, that could indicate that your cortisol is high. So if it's high in the evening and it's not allowing you to get to sleep, could indicate your cortisol is high. Okay, if you're waking up and you're feeling really fatigued as well, all right, that's another indication that maybe your cortisol again has been too high. We are meant to have a little rise in cortisol as we wake up in the morning, but that's meant to be after a night of melatonin and no cortisol. So if you've had a high cortisol during your sleep, that could indicate that that's also a problem if you're waking up feeling fatigued. Okay, so normally when we have a nice healthy level of cortisol, this is how we're kind of feeling, right? Like, yay, I'm good, I feel alert and happy and active, and I'm motivated and I want to go and do the things I need to do today and work and do all those things, right? That's a nice healthy level of cortisol, okay? I'm not stressed, I'm just feeling like I have enough energy and motivation to do the things I need to do, okay? If your cortisol is too high, okay, then you're going to start to feel like this guy, okay? So this guy is stressed and, oh my gosh, like everything's just too much and I'm tired and I'm anxious and your body's producing way too much cortisol to do the things that it needs to do. So it's overproducing, okay? So the other thing that you might notice if you have too much cortisol is that you will struggle to lose weight, and you'll particularly put weight around your belly. So you might sort of feel like you have a bit of an apple figure, or you just can't seem to shift weight from your abdomen. Cortisol tends to redistribute weight in our body. So if you notice that, it might also be an indication that you're struggling with too much cortisol as well. Too much cortisol over time can also predispose you to more infections as well. So if you tend to get sick a lot, that could be, or you get sniffles a lot and things like that, that could be another indication that your cortisol rhythm is out. If you get cravings throughout the day for carbohydrates multiple times a day, that's almost definitely a sign that your cortisol levels are doing this. Because as cortisol rises, glucose rises. So cortisol increases the glucose in the blood to allow for that fight or flight reaction. Then as that happens, insulin rises and then it dumps the glucose down. So then what you find is you're like craving carbs, or like chippies, and you're craving something really sweet or carby to eat. So if you're doing that multiple times during the day, again, another sign that maybe your cortisol levels and your insulin levels might be out. Now, you might also be getting GIT symptoms as well. So if your cortisol is constantly high, you would tend to find that you'll be diverting a lot of the attention that your gut needs from doing all the rest and digest. So you may start to find, indigestion, abdominal cramping, sometimes pain and things like that. So over time, if you find that you're getting regular GIT symptoms, it might be an indication that maybe your cortisol rhythms are a little bit too high and you're not having that normal lovely rise and then fall towards the end of the day, but your cortisol is maintaining and staying elevated. The other very common thing you'll notice If you're feeling constantly anxious or if you're dealing with a lot of depression, that's not to say that that's the cause, but raised cortisol levels over time can definitely contribute to anxiety and depression. There's lots of literature on that as well. So if that is something that you notice you're just feeling in an anxious state a lot of the time, or you're struggling with mood. So we know, for example, that patients that go on prednisone or corticosteroids for long periods of time are often more likely to develop depression. Okay, so if you have raised cortisol over a longer period, definitely a depressed mood, or sometimes what we call dysthymia, can sometimes be one of those things. Now, the common things that cause raised cortisol, so definitely an altered circadian rhythm. Okay, so if you are experiencing those symptoms, any of those symptoms I just spoke about, then almost certainly your probably circadian cycle needs to be tightened up. Okay, and what do I mean by that? I mean dark be dark, light be light. Make sure your eyes go out and you see the morning sun each morning, because you need, basically what it is that your body is struggling to have its normal circadian rhythm. Okay, so during the day, let your eyes see as much as the natural sunlight as you can. So if you work indoors, as much as possible, go outside and just have a look. You sit, so your eyes can just see the sunlight. In the evening, as much as possible, protect your eyes against blue light. So even if it means you have to get the awesome rocking blue light glasses and wear those, or don't watch TV and screens after dark. Do something else. Play board games, read a book, get an amber light and read a book. I can't stress that enough. Blue light, the amount of studies now that are showing that blue light toxicity, blue light from screens, causes stress reactions and problems in your body is huge, and definitely leading to excess cortisol. Okay, so if you can do one thing, even if it's just stopping your blue light after dark, that will make a major impact on your cortisol levels as well, which will also have an impact on your glucose levels and insulin levels as well. So that's just my short little video on what are some things to look for maybe high cortisol levels. So if you're struggling with any of those, that's not to say that's definitely the cause. Okay, obviously there's lots of things that can cause all those different symptoms as well. But I'm simply saying, if you're noticing on a regular basis you're experiencing those, quite possibly it could be that your baseline cortisol and your circadian levels are out of whack. It might be something to look at. Okay, all right. So hopefully I want you guys to be like this and be a happy dude who's got a nice cortisol level, and not someone like this, who's just really stressed and freaked out all the time. Okay, all right, awesome. Thanks guys for watching. Bye.